Hello, my name is Nujum and this is Hearthstone review. Blizzard announced 54 cards, and I have 24 of them here. In about an hour, hopefully I'm going to release the other 30. If something went terribly wrong, at the latest I'll have them tomorrow. Why am I so out of breath? Anyways, why is the music not... Aha, here we are. So, I have some music playing. It's gonna be a good 20-ish minutes. 24 minutes is what I'm aiming at because basically I want to spend a minute on each card, and I have a little slideshow timer thingy to help me out with that. So, hopefully there's annotations. Click on the annotation to see the card you're most interested in, and we will start as soon as this thing works. Hello? There we go. Okay. Windwalker, 4 mana 4/4 beast, so unfavorable versus Piloted Shredder, and there's kind of... Generally you want to play this on curve, right? So thinking of that, what beast can you play on 3 mana? Well, there's a 4/2 that you can make into a 4/5. Whoa, insane value. It's definitely really interesting because the 4/2 beast you can guarantee that you can hide it. But still, just being unfavorable to Shredder, like, I'm not sure how strong the Beast deck can be, now that both of its main cards are not great versus Shredder. And I mean, hey, you can get Savage Combatant out and then put Windwalker, or Windwalker. It'll be interesting. Definitely, this is a really powerful Beast synergy card, and that's something you really want. Something like Druid of the Fang, where you get a really big effect if you have a beast. But if you don't, like 4/4, anything with 4 health is just so bad versus Piloted. Moving on, Knight of the Wild. Whenever you summon a beast, reduce the cost of this card by 1. Another beast synergistic card. This one seems much more favorable though, because notice that it doesn't say while this card is in your hand like Bolvar is. So in playstyle it'll be much easier to activate. And definitely being 6 attack is favorable because it leaves a lot less counterplay for your opponent. You can't BGH it. 6/6 is generally pretty tough to handle. I mean, what are you gonna do? Swipe Hero Power Wrath? Or, like, I guess you can Fireball if you're Mage, but nobody likes Mage, right? Yeah, it's just like a really strong synergy card. Like, if something's gonna push Beast over the edge... I am kind of sad that it's not a 7/7 though, and that's mainly because we already have 1 7 attack creature in the Beast Druid deck. Why not have 2? Why not have 5, you know? Like, they're really trying to avoid BGH on Blizzard's end, which is interesting. Here's probably the strongest Druid card I think we're going to see for a while. It's a tempo card of all things. And Druids always sort of lacked tempo. By the way, 3 mana, mulch, destroy a minion, add a random minion to your opponent's hand. So it does stall out the game in a weird way, which is in favor of Druid. But it's the thing that makes this really weird is that Druid wants to outlast your opponent, and this is very much a tempo-oriented card, and while giving your opponent a random minion, it's probably not going to be as good as whatever you destroyed. Like, you kill Sylvanas, you kill Thaurissan, you know, whatever. It's whatever minion they're going to get is generally not going to be as good, even if they get something big, like a Piloted Shredder, or like the 7/7 tank Divine Shield. I forget what it's called. Force Tank Max. That's it. It just came to mind. It's an interesting card because it's a tempo card, and Druids just really don't have that at the moment. Moving on. 2 mana 3/2, King's Elec. Whoa, this card's crazy because if you win the joust, you draw a card. What does this mean? It means they're pushing Control Hunter. And that's really good because the thing about control decks is that without card draw, they kind of have a hard time dealing with situational cards. Basically, if you don't have your Harrison when your opponent has a weapon, then Harrison may as well not be in the deck, right? If you don't have your Owl when your opponent has when your opponent gives like Blessing of Kings on their shielded minipod, Owl's useless, you know? And so card draw is really important for but for control decks. So if they want Control Hunter to be a thing, they need consistent card draw. Keep in mind this isn't consistent. It's if you win the joust, you get insane value. So I don't know how much play this will see over, say, Loot Hoarder. It is a beast, which can be important, but overall probably isn't. Bear Trap, this is a really interesting one. The thing about secrets is that all secrets have to be sort of judged in comparison to one another, because secrets, probably one of the most interesting mechanics in that they have a very obvious way to counterplay them. You know, for this one, you just never attack the hero. Oh wait, that's not really going to happen, so you're guaranteed value with this one at least. After your hero's attack, which is important because it means the bear doesn't block the attack. 3 health, taunt, sure, that's pretty good for 2 mana, right? And it kills most anything on turn 2, so probably a really strong secret, especially if you get it off Mad Scientist. Like a really strong tempo play, definitely. Just overall a really strong card, and it's like, if you're trying to play around this card, you're also trying to play around Explosive Trap, which is weird. It's like, because I can see this taking over Explosive Trap or Snake Trap in like a control or mid-rangey hunter deck, just because the minion can be so valuable. It works with Knife Juggler, it works with Houndmaster deck. Another hunter card, Power Shot, deal 2 damage to a minion and the minions next to it. Hey, AoE, better Cone of Cold, I like it. I'm definitely going to put it in my block and load deck, because that's going to be a thing. Like I'm telling you right now, I'm going to craft block and load, probably the first thing. I have exactly like 430 something dust. So if I don't get it from packs, it's going to be great. Definitely it supports the control deck more than Miracle, though I'd say. It's good removal. But the thing is, there's not a whole lot of things that are 2 health that are good. I say that actually, I was just talking about Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler is an amazing card, right? You see it everywhere. Probably like, even if you just get 3 imps, it's probably fine. Like, when your worst case scenario is like fine, you can probably see this is a pretty strong card overall. Definitely going to see some amount of play. Next up we have Stable Master. Woo! Beast Synergy. Give a friendly beast immune this turn. 3 mana 4/2 is kind of unfavorable in terms of stats, but being able to give your 3/2 immune, or your 4/2, or God forbid your King Crush immune, you know, that's pretty insane. And it's definitely when beast decks become a thing at the beginning of the expansion, especially. This is going to be a card you're going to be scared of. You're going to be really playing around clearing the beast, and like, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to clear your minions, and they can take the gamble. That's great. I like cards that buff other cards because of the fact that they have an immediate effect, and your opponent has to be constantly thinking, okay, what if he has Stable Master? Okay, what if he has, you know, King Crush? I have to play around that. You know, what if he has Savannah Highmane? I have to be prepared for that. I like cards that make you react to that. Like, you can sort of foreshadow because they have big effects and you can play around it. Acid Maw is very similar to Stable Master, in that ironically it has, not ironically, but unfortunately it has 4/2, but it's for 7 attack. Wow, this better have like a really good effect. And it kind of does. Like, it's in the perfect spot for Acid Maw Unleash the Hounds at 7 mana. Control Hunter might play it a little, but I'm not expecting much. Like, I'd much rather just use Hunter's Mark than Acid Maw, frankly. It's just too expensive. Like, oh my god, 7 mana. I wonder if they tested this a lot, because certainly this is one of those things where if you're playing a really late game oriented meta, right? If the meta is all about control decks, control shaman, control mage, all of this sort of stuff, how good can Acid Maw be, and how good can Acid Maw punish people? It'll be interesting to see. Hey, we have another early game legendary, Dreadscale, another hunter one, no less. It's a 4/2 beast, so very aggressive card. Deal 1 damage to all other minions. Doesn't that kill off your own stuff? Well, here's the thing. This immediately flips from a control card, from a aggressive card to a control card with that effect. I think what they're really trying to do, it punishes you for playing aggressive decks, but it also punishes your opponents for playing aggressive decks, which is really, really what we need right now. Like, when cards were first starting to be announced, we weren't seeing a lot of anti-aggro, and frankly, we still don't have too much anti-aggro, but it's good that hunters, if Control Hunter is going to be a thing, they need good anti-aggro. Unleash the Hounds is one that can be a thing. Pyromancer is probably pretty good with the block and load sort of style of deck. you know, good draw, early minions, all of that's going to be really important. Unfortunately, 4-2, you know, what are you going to do? Hey, Dalaran Aspirant, 4 mana, Inspire, gains +1 spell damage. Really? How do I put this? It's a bland card in a lot of ways. Because I don't know if you're really going to want a hero power for the sake of getting spell damage +1. The thing about Inspire is that they need to be so good that you want to prioritize hero powering over playing a 2-mana minion, and this isn't really one of those. So it's just kind of a vanilla card. It's probably okay in fairness, like, especially with like the spell damage synergy that but every class got with the Master of Ceremonies, the 3 mana 4-2 potential 6-4. It can be very interesting. It'll probably be like a staple if you want to make a spell damage type of deck, and mages already have so many spells. Oh my god, and they're gonna get like an even better one, which is really silly. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Polymorph 4. I'm really not sure what to think about this one. So on one side, it's cheaper Polymorph, and everyone knows that Polymorph is a good card. Reducing Polymorph by 1 mana is really powerful, except now it has 2 health, which is important because it can't die to hero power. So now it's no longer 6 mana combo of Polymorph Ping. It's now the 3 mana, basically Hex, but you sacrifice your minion, so it's not as good as Hex. And that's really all there is to it. Like, it's just not as good as Hex. And because of that, it feels so weak. Even though it's only a 2 health minion, right? You can clear it with your Mad Scientist. Maybe it'll be a good control card. Freeze Mage will probably play this, maybe one of, because they do play like double Mad Scientist, Loot Hoarder type of stuff. It's just really hard to see how this is any better than Polymorph or Hex or anything else. Hey, here's the insane card I was talking about. Deal 2 damage to a minion. This spell gets double bonus from spell damage. Hey, if you want to build a spell damage deck, this is great. If not, put this in anyways, because oh my god, Mage has another 1 mana spell. God damn it. You know, I called Mage sort of the class no one likes earlier, and that's mostly because I don't like it, because I don't like Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage is just, they use so many cards so quickly with their spell discounts and Flame Waker being frustrating to deal with. Like, Flame Waker gets so much value out of small spells, and then being able to play the 2's taunts, bloody arcane missiles. Here's something else to boost up your early game if you somehow feel that it's needed. You know, just deal 2 damage on its own is just fine. It's just fine. And the Mage is already so frustrating to deal with. I'm gonna hate that card. I'm gonna hate this card so much. Anyways, hey, Paladin only Murloc. What? We sort of knew Paladin has a lot of really good aggressive cards. Murloc is an aggressive deck, but this isn't an aggressive Murloc. Now, it is still a buff to the Murloc archetype, just because Murlocs have had a problem of not having enough Murlocs. So you would have to put in things like, not Pyromancer, things like Shielded Minibob, Highlighted Shredders, Defender of Argus. You would have to put in just Leper Gnomes, just other aggressive cards that were non-Murlocs and didn't have Murloc synergy. This has Murloc synergy, and also, interestingly, it's a 4 mana 3-4, right, which isn't great, but it can summon itself, which is hilarious. And obviously this would be one of the best cards to get off of the Inspire Summon a Random Murloc. It's very mid-range oriented, but at the same time I can see it seeing a lot of play in like any Murloc deck. Oh no, I wanted to talk more on that. Well, that's the 1 minute limit. Hey, Seal of Champions. So, we know Hand of Protection is a bad card, right? Hand of Protection is the 1 mana give a minion Divine Shield. We know the +3 attack thing is a bad card, even though it does see play, like, competitively. That's because it puts on a lot of pressure. This combines to do, but it combines to do really, the 2 effects creates a really interesting thing where you get +3 attack, and you don't lose your minion. It's like, imagine having a power overwhelming that was just power overwhelming, that didn't have to destroy a minion. That's what this is. It's give your minion 3 attack, deal with something massive, and you don't lose your minion. So you can use this to pressure, you can use this to do all sorts of stuff. It's a really interesting card that combines 2 kind of bad effects. it is a little bit power creepy, but it gives Paladin a lot of pressure. Hey, competitive spirit. This is probably one of the more interesting cards. So I mentioned earlier that secrets need to be compared with each other. Compare this to Avenge and how you deal with it. Is the first thing. 1 mana competitive spirit secret. When your turn starts, give your minions +1/+1. So it has to stay on the turn. So the only way for this to not go off if your opponent is constantly clearing your minions, which Paladins tend to have a lot of it turns out. And what if this is Avenge per se? Especially when there's another Paladin card that's going to work really well with this mechanic. You play against Avenge in the exact opposite way you play against Competitive Spirit. You don't clear minions until you can deal with the Avenge effectively. Competitive Spirit, if you don't deal with the minions, then your minions get the Competitive Spirit. Also, it's an AoE buff, so it has potential. It has potential. I'm definitely expecting it in one of our future cards. Hey, enter the Colosseum. This is a weird one. It's like Brawl, but not a Brawl. Let's start off with the obvious. It's pushing control. Not even control, but just big minions. Minions with high attack. You play Stalag and Fugin on turn 5, and then turn 6 you enter the Colosseum and your opponent's left with whatever. Like, they lose 2-3 minions and they're left with their Knife Juggler, right? And they're like, oh god, my Knife Juggler is screwed now because I have a deck that likes to flood the board, and this is a direct counter to flooding the board. Interesting, because Paladin already have sort of an anti-flood mechanic, Consecrate, which just isn't really seeing a whole lot of play just because of how dominant the combo-oriented Patron Warrior seems to be. Not even just combo-oriented Patron Warrior, but a Rogue is really strong as well, which this doesn't help versus, hey, Mysterious Champion, remember when I was saying secrets? Put one of each secret in your deck into the battlefield. Dodges BGH, 6 mana 6/6, really strong. Definitely a really powerful tempo play, because Paladin secrets, the problem is that they are still a card that you have to replace something else with, and it doesn't feel good to replace Lotheb or, friggin', I don't know, Lay on Hands with really weak secret spells. So what I imagine this would be something that takes advantage of Secret Keeper. Secret Keeper is like kind of a crazy good card when you think about it. 1 mana, 1/2, gain +1/+1 every secret is played. Hey, this puts in a bunch of secrets, you can just play secrets normally. There's certainly secret synergies out there. This won't spawn the new archetype, but it's setting up groundwork for some kind of secret Paladin to see play. Who knows, maybe someone will make the deck anyways. Next card, Power Word Glory. So the first thing to note is that you compare this to Blessing of Wisdom. Blessing of Wisdom is 1 mana, choose a minion whenever it attacks, draw 1 card. This is Restore 4 health. And so I don't think it'll see play because it's just so weak a card. You know, you can put this on your opponent's minions, hey, that's cute, but, you know, if it's control matchup, your opponent's not going to care if you gain 4 health. If it's an aggressive matchup, okay, you removed my Knife Juggler from attacking, that might just be a good thing, because that means I don't have to trade off my Knife Juggler, and I can just keep getting value off of it, and you have to deal with it, you know? Restore 4 health is just same thing with Flash Heal, it's just too niche. Restoring health, it's whatever, you know? I don't want to restore health, I want to be playing minions, I want to be Light of Naru. That summons a minion as well, that's also a win condition. So it's just weak as a card. Spawn of Shadows, 4 mana, 5/4, inspire, deal 4 damage to each hero. Unfavorable to Pilot Shredder, so weak. Now, the Inspire is really interesting because Priest, they have the advantage in the deal 4 damage to each hero department because they can heal, your opponent only has so much amount of heal. I can see some kind of attrition deck being made around this card. This isn't an aggressive Priest card, so let me make that clear right now. People have sort of been waving the, hey, aggro Priest, here we go. This really wouldn't fit in aggro Priest because it requires you to use your hero power, right? And unless you have like the Maiden of the Lake going on, you're really not wanting to heal people. Not Maiden of the Lake, oh my god, what's the card? Shadow Form. Unless you have Shadow Form, you're really not going to want to heal people, and even Shadow Form is like a really slow card, right? So I don't think it'll be aggressive. We'll see how priests end up after a few more cards. The thing is, none of the priest cards are really aggressive, right? For example, this one, convert, put a copy of an enemy minion into your hand. Weird, but fun. I'm glad they're still putting out fun cards, right? Even up to the very point they didn't just put all the fun cards in the first week. No. They saved some for us to experience later. Hey, put a copy of an enemy minion. Hey, Grim Patron, I'll take that. Alvalin's chosen that. Ooh, spooky. There's a lot of interesting combo stuff you can do with this. Maybe you can even make a custom game with your friend, try to test out specific interactions much easier with this, you know, rather than trying to get the faceless around. It'll be an interesting card. Definitely something you use for fun, not for competitive. So, change the card. There we go. Wyrmrest Agent. Hey, so something we're seeing with a lot of the dragon decks. Hey, that's the not the thing. Something we're seeing a lot with dragon decks is that, hey, we have better early game minions now. I believe we saw it with the warrior yesterday with the Alex Straz's champion. Now we're seeing it with Wyrmrest Agent, right? Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, gain +1/+1 attack and taunt. 2 mana, 2/4 taunt. Little bit insane. But the thing about dragon decks is that they can't really make good early game cards because they just don't have the dragons for it. Dragons are very late game oriented. You can play Fairy Dragon, but is that enough consistency to make this card good in like some kind of aggressive priest? No, obviously you're going to play this in like a late game oriented dragon deck with Ysera or Chromagus or like, I don't know, Kel'Thuzad. And so it's going to be a good it's going to be a good play on turn 2 against aggressive decks, against any deck really. It's just a good value card. Hey, Shadow Fiend. 3 mana, 3/3, whenever you draw a card, reduces its cost by 1. This is an interesting card, mostly because it's definitely not something you play on turn 3. At least it shouldn't be something you play on turn 3. I guess you can play it. 3/3 isn't that bad of a stat line. The reason Shadow Fiend's really interesting is that you can probably play it on the field and then use a bunch of draw stuff, like Thoughtsteal. I don't know if Thoughtsteal counts as a draw, actually. Like you do some kind of Northern Shire Cleric combo, or you just play Gnomish Inventor. I wonder if this works with Chromagus. That'd be a funny... Like, you get Chromagus out, and then you play your Shadow Fiend, and then you, like, play double Gnomish Inventor, and it's like, hey, now I have 4 cards that all cost 1 less. That's pretty value, you know? It's like 3 mana Thurston, OP. It's an interesting card. 7 mana, Confessor, Pale Thrust, Inspire, summon a random legendary minion. Whoa, okay. Straight off the bat, this is a 9 mana card. Unless you have the Mistress of the Lake, in which case it's an 8 mana card. This is not something you play without the Inspire effect. And the reason for that is because it's got 4 health. 4 health dies to so many things. Swipe, Piloted Shredder, you know, any combination of minions on the board. This just dies so easily that you really either want to protect it with like a Sludge Belcher, or you just want to get your legendary minion out and be done with it, you know? And I mean, hey, 8 mana, restore 2 health, summon Millhouse Mana Storm? I'll take it. Summon that 2/4 Murloc? I'll take it. Admittedly, there's a lot more early game minions that are legendary that are being introduced that might lower the value of this. Still a really crazy cool card. Yeah. Slow as well, but whatever. Hey, we're getting into the Rogue class cards. I believe this will be the last card that I review. Buccaneer, it's a 2/1 pirate, so it's bad because it's only got 1 health. Whenever you equip a weapon, give it +1 attack. Hey, your hero power, it interacts with your hero power, which is good because we have so many new Inspire cards, so many new effects that we want to mess around with. The thing is, Rogue, again, gets really beat up in the Inspire department because their Inspire effects are just generally going to be worse. It is a pirate, which is interesting because pirate decks have always needed more pirates, more things to combo with the ship's cannon, more things to hit with your 3 mana, 3/3, give all pirates +1/+1. Cool card. In idea, in design, it's just no one's gonna play because it's got 1 health, frankly. It dies to another rogue's hero power. Like, it's just not good enough value. And I think that's actually going to be it for now. So, if you want to see that card and all of the other cards that are released by Blizzard, a lot of people have been doing really amazing reviews. I actually have Trump's review pulled up. I want to watch it after I make my own review, just so I can get like a little comparison. In fact, check out TSM Trump. He's been really cool watching his review on things after I do my review on things. And yeah, come back tomorrow. I really don't like the character here. Yeah, that looks much better. I'll do that tomorrow. Sorry about that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!